my banner. That's okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wine and Reason. I am Julie. This is our awesome Christmas relay as we bounce around among everybody's channels. I hope I got everybody. I sent a couple of other people invites as well. So if y'all show up, and can come in. If you can't, it's okay. I will not take it personally. I know, like, for example, Lone Wanderer, I sent you a link, but I understand that you're cooking and doing, stuff like that right now. And I respect that. So I want to say hi to my guest today, Festive Foreskins, also known as the Lovely Stool. By the way, I have to make a correction because it was driving me crazy. Paul Camish is also a citizen of the UK. He's one of your lot, and he was just wondering where in the UK you were because he has a very specific accent as well.
He's one of us.
Yeah, he's one of you. He's one of your lot.
I am not proud of being one of us.
Oh, I'm not proud to be an American, but I was born here. I can't help it. So anyway, I'm just saying that was Paul's actual question. Was like, where does that,
I'm totally nerding out with your new camera, Julie.
Thank you. Oh, check this out. It's from my best friend. So thought you'd enjoy that. Nerds rule. Because we do. All right, and we got Jenni Lacoste in the in the bottom corner there. Hey, Jenni.
Hi.
Oh, she's woken up.
Yeah, well, she's been going strong. Like, I was up until after 7 a.m. my time, and Jenni was still going. So,
yeah, that was some record-breaking snoring you were doing there, Jenni.
Hey,
that was quite awesome.
Don't give me that snoring.
Oh, leave her alone.
She doesn't snore. It was very ladylike.
Oh,
okay,
yes,
so and purple rhymes with orange, of course. Our dear friend and in large part organizer of this whole thing. I don't know how you herded this many cats, but hats off to you.
Oh, I had 25 years in the pagan community. I've got a lot of experience herding cats.
Yes, you do. I had 20 years in that community, so I know of what you speak.
Yeah, I did a lot of things of organizing charity events among pagans.
Oh, that's so cool. Well done. Yeah, we did a little bit of that, but mostly not. I don't know. I wasn't. Sorry. I'm not going to talk about that because it's going to sound like I'm throwing shade on the Mid-South pagans, and I'm not. They're great. I just was never that involved.
I've had to rearrange my thoughts today because purple is now my hero. And Junk Shop and Julie are now my arch enemies because I hate your lovely camera.
Oh man. I'm genuinely wounded. No, I'm not. I love you. I don't care if you're
also,
that jealous of my camera.
I can now see you. Look at your lipstick. What you doing?
I like black lipstick, and as Unholy Shade and I both agree, you can carry Halloween in your heart all year round, if you wish. I am wearing a Christmas sweater though. I'll stand up so you can see it. This is my Stranger Things Christmas sweater. Yeah, hells yeah! It's got the D&D monster there. Well, that's not really a D&D monster, but it's got the cool monster there, and it's got all the kids there. So, all right. Ugh, enough of that. Okay, so who is in the chat? We got Stuttering Chris. Hey, buddy. So good to see you. Nyota Yahura. I've only seen you a couple of times, but you are so welcome. Thanks for coming. Micro Raptor, hey, darling girl. How you doing? Yeah, I know.
Yay! We love the hoo.
I love Ahura was my favorite classic Star Trek character, obviously, because it's like, woman on the bridge, rock. So yeah.
Yep.
Also, Nichelle Nichols is a goddess. She's amazing. Let's see. Oh, hey, Morton Nielsen. Did I not send a thing to Linda?
They hadn't gotten it.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I need to send an invite to Linda. That's my bad. I'm sorry, Linda and Morton. That was not on purpose. I was trying to move too quickly. This is what happens when you try to multitask, guys. You make mistakes. Oh, no worries, Dave. No, I just got a message from Dave saying he can't and he's really sorry. Don't worry about it, man. You do what you got to do. All right, Linda.
Is that Critical Dave?
That's Critical Dave. Yeah, that's Critical Dave. Yeah. No, I know it's a weird time for him.
Yeah, we've got almost as many Daves as we have Jens.
That's fair. I need to be specific.
I was actually thinking that we should start a program called the Dave and Jen Show. It could have a different host every week, and we could go 6 months without repeating.
Yeah, well, what if you find out my name used to be Dave?
Oh my gosh.
No, it didn't.
And then we cross into some weird vortex of time and space. Like, that's, worthy of Doctor Who or something. Okay. Hey, you guys, talk amongst yourselves. Entertain the people while I find Linda's on Twitter. This should not be this hard. It might be that I had whiskey in my coffee this morning. Still do, by the way.
Hang on a minute. Have people been drinking alcohol on Jesus' birthday?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, we do it right, so just saying.
Well, I have no idea if anybody is drinking it on Jesus' birthday, but we're drinking it on Christmas.
Yeah, we're definitely drinking it in winter, which is clearly, we all know that.
In the 1980s, a convention of secular scholars had a 3-day conference to try and determine the date of Jesus' birthday, and they came to the conclusion it should be March 28th.
Yep, because it would have been in the spring. Okay, Linda Morgan, I sent the link. I am so sorry for that. The link is now in Linda's DMs. So sorry for that. So, all right. So, yeah, I was going to talk about the pagan origin. So we just debunked Jesus' birthday, and as most people know, I mean, even I know a lot of Christians who know this, that the whole reason Christmas is celebrated in winter was when the Christians were converting pagans all over the British Isles. They saw them having these big solstice winter celebrations, and so they were like, okay, we'll make that our main holiday, and that's how we'll get them in, right? And then it's like Christians. And then it's like, it's not a Yule log, it's a Christmas tree. Really, I promise, Bishop. It is. Go ahead.
I think the Christians really messed it up, that it would have made more sense if they had switched Christmas and Easter.
Yeah.
Then he could be born in the spring, he would die on the darkest night of the year, and be resurrected in time for the new year.
That actually would have been definitely more in fitting with Celtic mythology, and I think even some Roman mythology. Because isn't this also like Mithras' birthday? One of the mystery cults that existed in the Roman Empire?
Yeah, it does fit with a lot of different pagan mythologies that the winter solstice was the death of the sun god who would then be reborn.
Mm-hmm. So people have already covered some of this, so I don't want to go back over. Seth Andrews did a great video
I thought that people didn't celebrate Christmas until like the 1800s or something like that.
Oh no, Jenni makes a great point. It was more of a religious obligation, but it was also an obligation in feudal Europe for the lord of an area to have all of the vassals and serfs come on holy days, which included Christmas, and usually, people would go to mass. This is when it was all Christian. This is before before Henry VIII. Did I say all Christian? I meant all Catholic. Sorry, Catholic, Christian. Whatever, but differences. Anyway, so they would come, and the Lord was required to provide a feast for all of the serfs and vassals on every holy day. And actually, your average medieval peasant had more days off per year because of this than modern Americans do. So just saying.
That's not surprising.
You died around 30 usually from your teeth, but still it's like, there were some perks. But so let's talk about the Christmas tree, the Yule log, the Hanukkah bush, whatever you want to call it. It's one of my favorite things. I love a big Christmas tree with all of the lights, and we had to move, and we didn't have the space anyway, so we don't have one up this year.
I'm also a big fan of a big bush. I do like a big bush.
I like a natural bush. Yeah. I prefer a real tree. There was no good segue out of that.
That went over at like the speed of sound.
It did. That did not have legs. That just. Okay.
I have an artificial tree, and my cat still thinks it's for eating.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, Aloysius, my fat tabby cat, would hang out under the tree and idly bat at the lowest hanging, ornaments. So that's where I would put the really cheap bad or the ornaments that I didn't mind if they got broken or whatever. And also not all the non-glass ornaments went around the bottom so that we didn't end up with glass and kitty paws. But yeah. And then Bubastis, my black cat, would climb the tree and just hang out in it. And that was pretty cool. But yeah, if you have cats and Christmas trees, you've had some adventures for sure. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so where was I? Oh, I have notes. I'll find notes. Oh my god! I need to let people in. I'm so sorry. Hey Sam. Hey Sam. Oh Sam, I am. Oh wait, what happened? Hang on. I don't see. Hey Maya.
I'm scared now.
No, you're fine. Hey Dallas, come here.
If Julie's got notes, we're all in deep trouble.
It'll be fine.
Hopefully. I'm kind of wishing I had you all for longer now. Thank you, Sam. I didn't see you. Hello. And also, man, I am so proud of you for coming out to your family today, even if they just ignored it. Like, that's on them.
Thanks. It's highly entertaining because obviously they don't want to know and other people don't want them to know. Because I actually came out to people from their church a week ago, and usually any interaction with me gets back to them within the hour.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm going to do some science quickly. Because the Psalmster lives near to me geographically, he's really loud, and that's how the internet works.
Am I really loud for everyone else as well?
Whoa!
You are quite loud.
You're a bit loud, but it's, yeah. Maybe just turn it down a little bit.
Minute. I will have a look at the noise levels.
That's okay, though. You know how to project, which is good. All right.
Is this any better?
Oh, say that again.
Is this any better?
It's fine for me. What do you guys think?
Yep, it's fine.
Okay. Yep, you're all good. I don't see Linda and Mr. Nielsen, so I don't know what's happening with that. I promise I sent you the link.
Mr. Nielsen is in the side chat.
Oh, good. All right. Hey, Morton, let me know if went tits up with my link or something, okay? Thank you. See, I'm hanging out with all of you foreigners so much that I'm picking up your expressions.
That's fine.
I'm teasing. That was a joke. I love you. You know I do.
Racist.
I can't be racist against Europeans. I'm
you certainly can.
I'm like, I could be, but I'm like 98% Irish or something. It's insane. Microraptor! I'm adding you. There we go. Hey, darling, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Hey, hello.
Oh, I'm hearing an echo. If somebody has the stream on in the back.
That was probably me.
That's okay. I do that all the time. It's bad. It's terrible, actually. All right. Here we go. We got the Mortons. Yes. It's fantastic.
Hello.
Yay!
All right.
Back to the space dildo.
Here we go. We got the Mortons. Yes. Okay, I'm still hearing you, so if you don't have the screen muted,
you're not muted.
I didn't mute it. No, I thought I muted it.
This is not about playing.
Oh, okay. It helps to press the right buttons.
Mm-hmm. It does. I have found this to be true myself. I'm not being patronizing. I have an issue sometimes. All right, so I
panic pressed buttons there for a moment.
I was doing some research, and then I got derailed because I was listening to Laughing in Disbelief, and he had Dr. David Johnson on, who just wrote a book about 7 myths that stole Christmas. That's not quite the title. I'm sorry, I should have written it down. But he was just basically running through them. And so y'all were talking about Jenni mentioned that Christmas wasn't celebrated the way that we celebrate it now until I would go as far as to say the 19th century, but yeah, it wasn't celebrated back in the day like it is now. It was, it used to be all about wassailing or wassailing, right? So poor people would go to, their either the landowner or their employer in later times, and they'd sing at them, sing carols at them until they were given, and then they would be invited in and given food and drink because everybody knew everybody, and it was just something that the wealthy people were expected to do, like they had to do it. It was a social norm, and then they go from house to house doing that, which sounds freaking awesome, right? I mean, it's like I can just go knock on your door and you have to give me like booze and food. That sounds great. But
why does this sound like trick-or-treating?
It does, right? It sounds like trick-or-treating because here's the thing. If the rich person refused, the poor people could play tricks on them with no repercussions. They were not allowed to do anything about it. So they all usually they went along with it pretty much because you didn't want a bunch of drunk peasants like fucking with your shit. So
on behalf of the UK, I'm going to apologise for inventing all these weird traditions.
I don't know. I like them.
I mean, in fairness, a lot of Christmas tradition comes from Germany.
Yes. Yeah.
Including both the Yule log and the Christmas tree.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and the Christmas tree, actually, yeah, I have something cool about that. Let me pull up my
So
notes.
the Christmas tree, if memory serves, was actually originated in 16th century Germany, where they would decorate like communal trees with various bits of like tinsel and small trinkets and stuff, where traditionally it had been like foods they'd put on there, and it'd keep the animals here. It was supposed to be like a communal activity to keep people together when it was cold and dark.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then Christians went, "Ooh, that's cool," and just took it in their houses.
Yeah, I was used to the Scandinavian thing of hanging bits of food from the trees as offerings.
Yeah, okay. So I've got of course, usually an evergreen conifer, right? And this is, my extensive research in Wikipedia, so take it with a handful of salt. In Germany, the Christmas tree was associated with Saint Boniface, but it was pagan even before then in Scandinavia, like Purple just said.
I feel like it was. I feel like I've not read up on it, but I feel like that was one of the things that's more pagan culture and less paganism itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like Lutherans, which are the big Protestant denomination in Germany, at least in terms of being being from there, used to bring the trees into their homes, and then this acquired a lot of popularity all over the Baltic countries during the second half of the 19th century.
That's the part I wasn't clear on, was when they started bringing the trees inside.
Yeah, that is according to, again, Wikipedia. So, the tree was traditionally decorated with roses made of colored paper, and that might be where we get those rings of construction paper that kids make and wrap around the trees. Apples, wafers, tinsel, and sweetmeats. So there you go. Those are your offerings that were literally eaten off the tree. And then ultimately, these were replaced by Christmas lights because putting live candles on a tree is a bad idea when it's inside your house. It's so yay for electricity. I mean, just how many fires? Like, seriously, how many villages burned to the ground because of an errant Christmas tree candle. It had to have happened. Okay, so anyway, there's a wide, yeah, okay. Then it goes into today. We all know what it is about what it is today.
Well, even today with the electric lights, Christmas trees are one of the most common causes of house fires.
They are, and that is why I would honestly, and that's why I'm of two minds about Christmas trees. We always had an artificial tree growing up, and my godmother always had a real tree. And there really is nothing like walking into a house where someone has a real tree, because that smell hits you immediately of pine, and it's just lovely. But I gotta say, and then the artificial trees, of course, are not biodegradable, so that's the downside of those. But I think they're much less likely to catch fire because the real trees dry out. So,
well, I had always had real trees growing up, and I certainly prefer the aesthetic of a real tree, but the idea of killing a tree every year for just having it in for a couple of months kind of bugs me.
It bugs me too, even though they're grown for that purpose. At least they are here. Like, we have Christmas tree farms where the trees are grown, and so they just harvest them. Once.
Whereas on the other side, if you have an artificial tree, there's a good chance you could use it for 10 years.
Yeah, that's true, or longer. I mean, they can last a long time. They do get dusty though. Okay, so oh wow, the space dildo is coming out great, Morton.
The space dildo is done.
It's done. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. I was about to say it's gotten bigger.
Well, why haven't you gotten it up?
That is what she said.
That is, yeah. I just had to set that up for you, Stool, so you can knock it down. Okay.
He's been fondling it for close to 24 hours. I should think it's gotten bigger by now.
I almost killed Linda with a space dildo.
Oh, dear God, I don't want to know that story. Okay. Maya says I've been using mine, and she does not mean a space dildo. She means an artificial tree for 27 years. So, hey, Maya, I hope that wasn't embarrassing. Love you. Okay. Oh, mistletoe. Yeah, that was the other cool thing. Oh, and the other thing that Dr. Johnson said was, dagnabbit, it just went right out of my head. Sorry. It's been a long and glorious Christmas day, you beautiful heathen motherfuckers. I am tired.
Morton, the frame is cutting off the toe of your missile.
Aw. All right, hang on. Where did I put that stuff? Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a mistletoe is interesting, but there's a place where it gets weird consent-wise. So pre-Christian cultures regarded the white berries as symbols of male fertility because they look like sperm, right? The Celts particularly saw mistletoe as the semen of Tyrannus, while the
whoa! We can't say that word.
I don't know. It's just a god name.
We can't say that word on the YouTubes.
Tyrannus?
No, the S word.
Sperm?
You said semen.
Oh, semen. Any of those are fine. My channel's not monetized. While the ancient Greeks referred to mistletoe as oak sperm. That's hilarious. Also, in ancient Greek mythology, mistletoe was used by the hero Aeneas to reach the underworld. Oh, right, because he was looking for his wife. Yeah. Wait, no, different story. Sorry, different trip into the underworld for a hero. Okay. Mistletoe played an important role in Druidic mythology in the ritual of oak and mistletoe. In Norse mythology, Loki tricked the blind god Hodur into murdering his own twin brother Balder with an arrow made of mistletoe wood, being the only plant to which Balder was vulnerable. Some versions of the story have mistletoe becoming a real symbol of peace and friendship to compensate for its part in the murder. The Romans associated mistletoe with peace, love, and understanding. That's like right out of a Beatles song. And hung it over doorways to protect the household. Hanging mistletoe was part of the Saturnalia festival, and we all know the connection between Saturnalia and Christmas. In the Christian... Go ahead.
Is that... my brain possibly just missed a switching point there, because it sounded like to me you were still talking about the Druids for a minute, and then you swapped to Saturnalia, which is a Roman holiday.
I apologize. Yeah, I went from Druid mythology to Norse mythology to Roman mythology.
Okay, my brain's just still catching up, is all.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Sam. I talk really fast because I'm always nervous. But it's okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, the Druids had the ritual of oak and mistletoe. And mistletoe played, and I'm not familiar with that ritual. I should have clicked the link on that and gone more in depth, but I didn't because I knew I only had an hour. But in North, and then Norse, Loki tricked Hoder into killing his twin Balder with an arrow made of mistletoe, and then after that, some versions of the story made mistletoe a symbol of peace and friendship to compensate for its part in the murder. Then going to the Romans, the ancient Romans associated mistletoe with peace, love, and understanding, and hung it over doorways to protect the household. Hanging mistletoe was part of the Saturnalia festival for the Romans. Then in the Christian era, mistletoe in the Western world became associated with Christmas as a decoration under which lovers are expected to kiss, as well as with protection from witches and demons. Yay! Oh my god. Okay.
You guys don't need protecting from me. You're fine.
Sorry, no, so many people died because of that one line in the fucking Bible. Anyway. Mistletoe continued to be associated with fertility and vitality throughout the Middle Ages, and by the 18th century, it had also become incorporated into Christmas celebrations around the world. And that's probably why the custom of kissing under the mistletoe is referred to as popular amongst servants in late 18th century England. That's a weird line, isn't it? It's almost like saying the servants were being naughty. They had hard lives. Like, don't give the servant shit. Okay. Here's where it gets weird, though, consent-wise, okay? The serving class of Victorian England is credited with perpetuating the tradition. The tradition dictated that a man was allowed to kiss any woman standing underneath mistletoe, and that bad luck would befall any woman who refused the kiss. So that's where it gets weird and where we all go, ooh. So if you go to a Christmas party, just, maybe look up once in a while. Unless you're particularly, I've certainly grabbed someone and been like, hey, look, it's right there. You want to, that's different than you just happen to be standing underneath it, and then anybody could be like,
Okay, Julie, Microraptor's waiting for you to tag them back in.
Oh, did we lose them? Oh, I'm so sorry, Microraptor. I was just nattering on, and I didn't see. I'm sorry. I had a Word document up over my screen.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so what do you all think about the mistletoe stuff?
Well, yeah, the consent issues, but
yeah,
a lot of it makes sense, and it does have a lot of kind of not quite universal, but fairly common tropes and themes within it across cultures.
Absolutely. Like for the example of this interesting thing that ancient people used to do, where if something in nature looked like anything reproductive, like a phallus, like a vagina, like sperm, they would associate that plant or that tree or that whatever with fertility.
Okay, Godless Scummer is asking something about if mistletoe didn't come from the Druidic ritual of oak and mistletoe from Pliny the Elder.
Yes, that is associated. I know. I don't know that it's actually the same. I've not read up on it in a while, but they're certainly associated.
Sam, you're welcome on my show anytime, because I had no idea.
If memory serves, Pliny the Elder did have an extract in one of his writings, Natural History, maybe, in the 1st century, and he made reference to that particular ritual, I think.
Okay. Cool. All right. Sorry, I got distracted by a goblet.
Yeah.
All
right. Because there's actually, it is very rare to know anything about any particular Druidic ritual, because the Romans weren't necessarily great record keepers of the other cultures they came into contact with.
Right. They were very like in colonizing in that way. Like they were very imperialist, and that they would just come in. Well, they had an emperor, that makes sense. But they would come in and basically just say, okay, you pay us taxes now, we'll give you roads and medicine and aqueducts, and yeah, you can still worship your gods, but you also have to put up temples to ours. So it was very, hit and miss, and it's why
they were excellent record keepers of themselves.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it always feels like George, some people say that, the youth today are so obsessed with sex, but it seems like the past people were more obsessed with sex. Like,
I mean, I've heard things. I think it was like Da Vinci or someone, that his lab assistants would always just like doodle dicks in the side of books.
Yeah,
and it's just like humans have not changed.
No, we haven't. We've been, Homo sapiens sapiens for a long time, and we're basically, the same. There were always trans people, there were always asexual people, there were always gay and pan and queer people. It's just, and every generation, the funny thing is every generation thinks they're the first ones to discover sex, and it's like, no, like that's cute, honey, but no. So
well, I think what's actually changed is the number of people keeping records.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that has changed a lot too. You're right about that. Absolutely. Thank you, Edward Chiriak. Happy Festivus to you. Mark Caesar, I can't make you a mod right now because I'm in StreamYard, and I'm scared to go anywhere with this many guests, but I will make you a mod at some point. I am so sorry because you have a cool link to drop. Damn. Yeah, post a link about why mistletoe is known as semen berries and a whole lot more stuff. Oh, man. The one I didn't have time to look up, and then I see, this is what's funny about being neo-pagan for over 20 years, and Purple, tell me if you can identify. You end up with a fairly odd book collection. So.
Your book collection will be nuts after being any form of pagan around.
Yeah. But
while I was generally pagan, I never identified with any particular tradition, so mine is a very random collection of information.
I was very New Age, Celtic Pantheon, Wiccan kind of stuff. That's
yeah. I have issues with Wicca. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is absolutely fair praxis, but
yeah. Well, I have issues with it too, which is why I always said then and now neo-pagan. I never said Wiccan, but there were Wiccan elements in what I did. Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like I made my own broom once, and out of a Rowan staff and all kinds of.
I had coined the identifier of an SCP as a solitary eclectic pagan.
I did that too.
SCP also has a nice reference if you're familiar with Douglas Adams.
I am, and now I don't, but I'm not catching it.
Yep.
Now, for weird.
Oh, Douglas Adams said SCP is someone else's problem.
Someone else's.
You couldn't actually make something invisible, but if you paint it pink and put a sign that says someone else's problem, everyone will ignore it. So well, that might as well be invisible.
There you go. That is true. Oh, thank you, Amiga Nuts. Thank you so much. I think Amiga Nuts is helping out with the links, as always.
Isn't that also how they explain the TARDIS in Doctor Who?
Oh, go ahead. Morton, what was that about the TARDIS?
No, it is the Microraptor.
I'm sorry, Microraptor.
Isn't that also... Yeah, no problem. Isn't that also how they explain the TARDIS? That okay, it's someone else's problem. It's someone else. Like people can see it, they have to ignore it.
Yeah. Even when it gets locked in the form of like a 1960s police box and can't change its form after that, so it can't really blend, people just don't notice it. They just kind of walk right by.
Yep.
Yeah, and it is, I guess, a bit like why nationalism can be to some people so appealing, because you can say anything outside this line is someone else's problem and just really limit it.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Can't really connect to that, but yeah.
No, I mean, I get what you mean. It's easier to, it's difficult to think globally, right? I mean, it's it takes more work, and at some point we all get overwhelmed. Our brains are only designed to truly empathize with about, what is it, roughly 50 people. I read somewhere.
I've heard numbers expressed anywhere between 50 and 300. So I tend to just go that sort of ballpark.
Yeah.
Desmond Morris referenced some psychology experiments that said that you could only identify about 100 to 150 individual people. And outside of that, people actually had difficulty acknowledging they were even the same species.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, and that explains racism, right? Because race is a social construct. But when you see someone who looks really way different from you, then it's almost like, what, I don't, Yeah.
Yeah, there are also other kind of psychological reasons behind that, in that they already exist in different spaces, and they kind of always have done, whether that be through segregation or through black communities or through whatever. Humans who look very different have always existed differently once they met each other.
True.
And that means that their experiences are not the same, but everyone assumes that their experiences or the experiences of what are perceived as the majority, that's what's considered default, and that's what always gets expressed in media. And that's why people always have such a hard time kind of thinking about how someone else's minority might be oppressed or looked down on in a way that they don't realize.
Yeah, and that's why racism is always based on ignorance.
Well, and because
until
collective agriculture, we still existed as small tribes of only about 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
And I've been doing a lot of background reading on this shit recently, because that's what my newest video is going to be about when I make it.
Yay!
Even when we had agriculture, when we started that, we sort of most people didn't meet people that far outside their own village and stuff. So
very few people ever traveled outside the county they were born in before the Industrial Revolution.
Absolutely. And to bring it back to Christmas traditions, thank you, Microraptor, and thank you, Purple. Once you hit the Industrial Revolution, you had wealthy people in New York City in the 19th century who owned factories. So they would have hundreds to thousands of employees, and they didn't know their employees the way that, back in the day, a lord would have known all of his or her, a lord would have known all of his serfs. I almost said his or her. Anyway, no, the lord, the dude, because it was always a dude, would, know the people that worked their land, right? So, that sentence was almost unsalvageable.
Oh, hi B.
Yeah, hi B, love you. So we hit the Industrial Revolution, and you have these rich people who don't know all their employees, and they don't want all of these poor people coming into their homes and eating their food and drinking their booze, and yet that was still the custom because they brought it from the old countries. So the poor people would go around knocking on doors and singing, "Here we come a wassailing," and the other carols and stuff, so what they did, they ended up taking Madison Square Garden, and sometimes I wonder if this is the root of why the New Year is still celebrated in Madison Square Garden in New York City. But they would take Madison Square Garden and they'd lay out and they'd use charities this is literally how the oh damn it, what's that one that Wonder Lady and I did the deep dive on?
Salvation Army.
Thank you, Salvation Army. So this is literally how the Salvation Army and some of these other Christian charities started. They'd lay out these huge feasts and have like free booze to a point, and then the wealthy people in New York, to feel good about themselves, would buy tickets to the boxes above in the balconies around Times Square, and they would sit down and watch the poor people ravenously eat this food and, you know, joke about, oh, look, he's putting some in his pocket for later, you know, because they were working like 14-hour factory shifts and, you know, were ridiculously, horrendously poverty-stricken. It's really gross. It's really, really gross. But then that led to Christmas being something that was celebrated completely differently. It wasn't just about food and drink and those who are more fortunate giving directly to those who were less fortunate or in a different station or class. It ended up being through a third party, a charity, and then you started giving presents to your children. So it was almost like, you know, the people who have the least power in the household got the presents on Christmas, if that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining that well. Really quickly, Jeff said something cool that I want to pull up. Okay, so one of the great ironies is that the associations between Christmas and paganists was propagated by die-hard Protestant Christians. Yes, who associated Christmas with Catholicism, absolutely. And, you know, I'm an ex-Catholic, and my people are all those, you know, idol Mary worshippers. So, according to a lot of Protestants.
Catholics feel so pagan to me.
Right? It was an easy transition. Like, I read the Bible at 18 and went, fuck this God. And then he's terrible and misogynistic and awful. And then I was like, ooh, there are goddesses and they're like saints. And there's a God and a goddess for everything. That's just like okay, yeah, it was an easy switch over in my head.
Yeah, in the 16 and 1700s, celebrating Christmas was outlawed in some of the American colonies.
Yep. And honestly, this is one, and I hate to say it, but this is one thing that the Jehovah's Witnesses are absolutely right about. Everything that's fun and cool about Christmas has pagan roots. Woo! So there's that. So blessed be, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not hearing a lot from the people that are in with me, so I hope I'm not boring you guys.
Oh, no, I'm a little bit spaced out. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I know you've had a day.
Yeah, I've also had some substances.
That's okay. I was not hungover when I woke up, and I was very happy. I was proud of myself.
I think we're also not quite clear on the rules because in Junk Shop stream we were trying to be quiet and let him read.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, now that I've given information. And I'm going to pull up one more thing from Jeff, and then it's like whatever y'all's thoughts are fine. And sorry about that. There don't have to be rules. It's Christmas. Yeah, I do appreciate you all being respectful of letting me speak. That's really kind. But it's, you know, it's all of us here. It's our community having fun today. So, okay, the idea that Christmas might be pagan was advanced as early as 1648 in the work Certain Queries Touching the Rise and Observation of Christmas, written by the Puritan Joseph oh my God, Joseph Herman.
Yeah, I mean, I can see an argument that might occur where I would say that it certainly has pagan origins. I don't know if I could, like, saying Christmas is pagan would be completely wrong from a pagan perspective, let alone a Christian perspective. But saying it has a lot of pagan origins and a lot of the elements are adopted from pagan traditions would be very apt.
Yeah,
I think people often conflate the two, where it's like, they stole our window dressing and ran off. They didn't steal the house.
Yeah, they basically... Yeah, Christianity stole the fun bits and then inserted their own religion into it.
Well, they tried to steal the fun bits, but then they had to tone down the sex and gluttony bits.
They did. No more wild hunt. No more dancing around in circles until the sun comes up, or under the full moon naked. Not that I'd know anything about.
To me, at least, it sounds like if you say that it is pagan, you're saying that when they stole it completely, like everything. But it does seem like it might have influence that the Christians stole a little bit from pagans, and then they stole maybe other bits from other religions. And
and it won't always necessarily be pagan, because they drew a lot from Judaism as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So some of the traditions might not be Christian, but as a whole, might not be pagan in origin. Sorry. But
you're right.
A lot of the origins just are. And
you're right, because Christianity was a heretical sect of Judaism when it started.
And that's even back to biblical times. That's the way that they were doing it. As you read the Bible, it's all about moving into a new territory and convincing the new tribe that they're the same as you are, and merging the tribes together.
Mm-hmm. And all the letters of Paul, are your evidence for that.
You are in the chat just made a point, and I think that's potentially worth addressing. That pagan just means anything that's non-Christian. Only if you're Catholic, actually.
Actually, thank you.
Because the Catholics define pagan as non-Christian. However, in terms of looking at where the word pagan come from and what it's useful for it to mean, it came from the word paganos, which meant common folk, and it was basically to mean the religion of the common folk. So what it's typically used to mean is like older religions that aren't still living traditions, that aren't super massive. Like, the biggest ones that people tend to consider pagan are like Wicca and then some Buddhists.
Yeah. And absolutely right. Whoever said that in the chat, it was originally just any non-Christians, and then later, but it's also funny because now we have a situation where, and I didn't know this for the longest time. I was bullied a little bit for being a Catholic kid as a kid, but not like nearly as much as like some stories I've heard from Jewish friends and stuff. But like basically, there a lot of Christian denominations don't consider Catholics to be Christians, and that's weird because I'm like,
they only don't consider them to be Christians when they're talking about practice. When they're talking about counting numbers, then the Catholics are Christians all of a sudden. Because if they're not, then all of a sudden Christianity isn't the biggest religion on the planet anymore.
Right? Because I was talking to one of my nieces who is amazing, and she's very much a born again Christian. But she and I were talking, and we were talking about the no contraception thing in Catholicism, and she said, "What is that about? Why is that?" Because she wasn't raised Catholic; she was raised like a born again Christian. And I said it's breed out the competition. That's what that is. That's all it is. They try and put all these smoke and mirrors and God stuff, and the soul starts at conception and all that nonsense, but it's really just breed out the competition.
See, arguably, if life does start at conception, then there should be no need for the thing that I've heard of several Catholics go off on a tangent about how every sperm is sacred.
Right? Yeah, because it's not the sperm that's sacred, it's the zygote. Yep. It's the fertilized egg that's sacred.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Though technically, I guess the embryo would be sacred as well as the zygote.
Right? It's just one of those things one of many things that led me to, because like, and I know I've said this before, so y'all feel free to cut me off and talk about something more interesting, but like there are only 3 options for someone who is Catholic and born with a vagina, and they are I could be single and celibate, I could be a nun or a sister, as in holy orders, and celibate for my entire life, or I could be married to a man and have as many babies as possible. Now, I had a couple problems with that. I didn't want children, and I liked boys and girls. So that was when I was like, okay, well, this is just doctrine, right? This isn't the word of God. I'm going to read the Bible and figure out what I actually believe. And by the time I got to the end, I was like, this is bullshit. So
I didn't actually read through a whole book of the Bible in its entirety until I left Christianity. I did a weird thing where I started out as Christian, then became an atheist, then became a Christian again, and then became a Christo-pagan, then became an actual pagan.
Ah, right. Christo-pagans. Christo-pagans are interesting. Can you define that, Sam, for anyone in the
chat? So Christo-pagan is it means well, typically it means that they're a multi-traditionalist. They follow multiple religious traditions, and one of them happens to be Christianity. Though it can also mean that they've syncretized Christianity into other beliefs, or other beliefs into Christianity.
That's what I. Go ahead.
I sort of did the latter, where I kind of folded other religions into Christianity. But once you start to do that, you start to realize that Christianity came from other religions in the first place. And then it sort of falls apart, and you go, okay, well, I guess that would make it Judaism or nothing, but that means I can fuck the whole salvation narrative then.
Absolutely, because and that's, I actually considered very much converting to, it is like Saturnalia, Edward. And I considered very much converting to Judaism, but then I came across the same problems. Like, you can't be queer, and I didn't know.
Actually, that depends on.
You're right. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
That depends on the sect of Judaism, because
I didn't know about Reform Judaism at the time. I didn't know that was a thing. So I didn't think I could. And then I was also like, well, but then I'm still worshiping Yahweh, who's the awful, bloodthirsty, murdery God that I don't like. So nothing against Jewish people and Jewish culture, which I love, but the God, not so much. And couldn't get down with that one.
While they never talk about it, there's actually nothing in the Bible that ever mentions two women having sex together.
That's true.
Actually, there's not really anything in the Bible that's against two men being together either, actually. Because
that one can be debated somewhat, but there's absolutely no mention at all of two women.
No, and if you
considering that they were good on men having multiple wives, you've got to expect there was some of that going on.
Absolutely, and concubines as well. Julie, hey Julie, let me in. Oh wow, that was all a long time ago. I'm so sorry. Okay, so really quickly, last thoughts, because we have a hard stop here in 4 minutes. Man, I wish I'd taken a longer block now. I'm gonna rethink this for next year. I learned some.
My final thoughts would basically just be Christianity stole a lot of ideas from pagan celebrations, but didn't steal the pagan aspects of them. And so, while you can say it has its roots, at least strongly, in paganism, you can't say that Christmas is pagan.
Fair, it's not. But I will say this. As Christmas is practiced today in Western cultures,
it's a cultural holiday as opposed to a religious one.
Exactly. It's exactly like when I was in the UK. Junk Shop and I went to Scotland last year, and I know I talk about it all the time because I loved it, and it was one of the best weeks of my life. I fucking loved it. But we went to Scotland last year, and it was amazing. It was November, so it was only it was never got above 4 degrees Celsius the whole time we were there, and it was freezing, but it was great, and we loved it. And that's what we saw. Was just, instead of like here in the southern United States where I live, you'll see Christmas trees and then next to a big cross that's lit up, just to remind you of the suffering and the guilt part about Jesus. And it's like, can't you just do a nativity? Like, really, you got to do the cross thing?
That's weird to me.
It's very weird. It's very weird. Yeah, but over there, it was just all of these lights and garlands, and you could tell it was just very cultural. Everybody was having a good time. Everybody was cool, and And it wasn't life or death. It wasn't the myth that Jesus is the reason for the season bullshit. It was just, hey, this is what we do.
I happen to be around people who it is like sort of like that with sometimes, simply by virtue of who I've grown up around. And
me too.
But over the last few years, becoming pagan, it's been highly entertaining to watch Christians around me be really upset by the commercialization of Christmas and how it needs to stay true to the original meaning of Christmas, when a lot of them haven't read more in depth into it than a King James Bible or maybe NIV at best.
Yeah, and Maya the South is crazy. Y'all are more centered up in the north. Yeah, there we go. Here you go, Sam. You got some love from Godless Scummer. That's a better assessment than I often hear about paganism and Christmas. I've had this argument most Christmases over the past couple of years with atheists and pagans. Yeah, that was an excellent. Thank you, Sam, so much. And I know, right, Microraptor? How not cool. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want my family there, but yeah. Anyway. All right, so ending on no gay orgies thing, I'm going to say be safe, do what you want to do, and and B, you should totally title a book that. And also, I want to say thank you to my guest. Thank you, Stool, a very stable milking stool. I love you. You're awesome. Thank you, Purple, for organizing everything and being your wonderful, kind, beautiful person self. And thank you, Jenni, for hanging out for so long with all of us. You're a trooper, man. You're a champ. And I'm sorry, I call everybody ma'am, Jenni. I that's sounded weird. Okay. And Microraptor girl, I love you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I got your accent mixed up with the Danes. I apologize. To the Danes, Linda and Morton, thank you so much for being here and letting us watch you put together Legos while I prattled on. And it is now 4:00. Thank you, Sam Chaos, for bringing the pagan knowledge to all you heathens and beautiful atheists and agnostics and non-believers and full moon worshipers or whatever the fuck out there. We love you. Take care. Be safe. And remember, you can't find truth in wine, but you may find it in reason.
Bye-bye.
Bye.